Welcome to Marathon Champions, the podcast where running legends Benji Durden, Bill Rogers, and Ron Tabb share their timeless wisdom on marathon training and inspire listeners with their wealth of experience. These champions continue to impact the running world today.
Geoff, I think the last time I saw you was at Studio 54 after New York.
No, we must have seen each other somewhere between now and then.
I don't know.
I don't know. You know what?
I'm trying to think where it would. No,
I don't know. It was a long fucking time ago, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, I only raced against you twice that I could find, and amazingly, I beat you both times.
I was like, there you go. That's brilliant.
The
thing is, you know, on any given day, we're all there for one reason. We all stood on the line to win, right?
Yeah. So in 81, you ran Peachtree, and I had my PR, and I ran 28:36. You were like 29 and change. In 83, we both ran Wheeling. Both of us ran crappy, but I ran a little less crappy than you did.
Oh God, I didn't run well at Wheeling at all. But in Peachtree, I just run 27:40 for 10K, and I flew out from Manchester. But I spent 24 hours. I spent 2 days in Manchester Airport waiting to get here. Yeah. I missed my connection.
There was a good reason why you ran slow.
Oh God, I got to Peachtree, like, I don't know, it took me like 4 days to get there.
Mm-hmm.
I was, even Dean Matthews beat me. So, it wasn't a happy time.
No, I think he was 17.
Geoff, I think that in those days, before the sport went professional, we all went through this. It was just the nature of the sport setup. I was looking at my book from 75 and everything, and I saw after I had won Boston, I got invited to a marathon in Holland, in Enschede, this old town. Ron Hill was going to be there, and Neil Cusack, 3 Boston runners. I thought we'd all beat the old guy, Ron Hill, but it took me 40 hours of travel to get there. Yeah. So I think these were the kinds of things that affected us all and knocked us apart. And why today, one of the reasons runners are so much faster, of course, is everything is much more under control, sometimes in a sad way in regards to the agents and the doping issue. But at least for most people, it's a more sanely run sport. People do 2 marathons a year instead of the 4 that we might have done.
I only done 2.
But I will say one thing that kind of goes against what we both have been talking about is, I don't remember, it was 85, I think it was, Beijing. Gidimishanga. It's like 38 hours to get there, and then probably beat us all.
Yeah.
So it didn't affect everybody the same way.
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of them things, sometimes you can get away with it and sometimes you can't.
But when did you really start road racing? I mean, looking at your statistics, it looks to me like you mostly were a track guy for a long time.
I mean, most probably 83.
So that's another reason why we didn't race each other much, because 83 was sort of the end of me.
I come out in 80. You've got to remember, I didn't start. You guys all had somebody at school or somebody pushing you or pulling you and prompting you to be runners. I didn't have any of that. At school, I'd done the school gym class. We used to have to run 2 miles, and I never got beat. But there was no teacher in the school pushing you to go to a track club,
Mm-hmm.
So, I never got into running at 12, 15, 16.
How then did you go to getting a scholarship to Providence College? I mean, I know you were a firefighter in England.
Well, that's it. That it was only because of the firefighters. I mean, at 16, I couldn't wait to get the hell out of school. I hated school. I wasn't a good student, but I got into the fire brigade at 16, and it was a 2-year training course. So we done every Wednesday. We had to go and do a life saving. So we go to the swimming baths and do a life saving, and then in the afternoon, the officers would take us down to a railroad line drop us off and we had to run 6 miles along the railway line, and they'd pick us up 6 miles down, but they'd be all sitting in the bar waiting for us. So I would get there and I would run my ass off to get to the bar and go in and have a pint with them, but everybody else walked. So I mean, I got into the running that way. And then when I got on the fire station at 18, they had a running team, but I was on the tug of war team. I was on the soccer team. I was on the cricket team, because you always got time off to go and play sports, you know. I joined I got on the running team, and then they said they're going to take a team to Paris. So I said, I better start running now. I went to Paris. I won in Paris, and I never looked back. I joined the running club. I joined Liverpool Harriers. Dave Murphy was there, John Woods, and we had a great group of guys. You know, that they're all about 76, 77 now. But they were great runners, and we had a good team. You know, we would finish in the top 3 in the country. You know, at the national cross country, we'd finished in the top 3 in the 12-stage relay and the 6-stage relays. We had a good track team. I had a great group of guys to teach me how to run.
So, Geoff, I trained with down at Western Kentucky. I trained with Dave Murphy down there when he right around the Tony Stainings days, and Nick Rose and Dave Long, those guys there. I went there to train. But did you train with John Graham or Dave Cannon, Dave Murphy when you guys were in England together? Did you guys ever train together?
Trained with Murph would be at all of our all the group sessions. Murph was there, you know, Tuesdays, Thursdays, long runs on Sundays. And, you know, we all done our own thing on the other days. But Tuesdays, we'd meet at a guy's house, and it would be like a 10 to 12 miles of fartlek. And one of the guys would have the session all planned out. And I had to make sure that they didn't drop me, because it was the south end of the city and I was from the north end of the city. So I had no idea where the hell I was. Murph was at all of those sessions, you know. And, you know, we had John Woods. I don't know if you know, John was ended up running for Ireland in the Olympics. You know,
Okay.
he ran about 2:10 or 2:11. So we had a really good we had a great team.
How did you transition to Providence College? Did you have a friend at Providence College or something? How did you make it there?
One of the coaches in Liverpool Harriers had something to do with John Tracy, and he knew Bob Amato with Providence.
Yeah. Okay.
So he made the connection.
I mean, when you were at Providence, what did you get down to, like in the mile, the 2 mile? What I know of you more so after Providence College. I knew you went there,
I
a great competitive school in running.
I ended up doing I only ever ran one competitive mile, and that was in 81.
It shows that you ran 3:55 in Wales at 82.
I was at 82. I freaking dates I can't remember anymore, you know. 82.
I can relate. So,
but that was my first and only mile.
So you ran 350.
really, your first?
You ran 355. Was it in your first and only?
Yeah, I couldn't get in. I couldn't get in. I was black. They fucking hated me for some reason.
Oh God! So the 3 of us here would be overwhelmed if we'd been able to do that.
Yeah, 3:55 in your first shot at it. Wow, that's really impressive. That is really impressive.
I'll have to send you the video.
Yeah, you should do that. We should post that online. People would enjoy watching that.
Well, yeah, I've only got the last 250.
Well, that's better than none of it.
But you know, I led the whole friggin' race from the gun. You know, as a 10,000 meter runner.
Mm-hmm.
I ran 59, 59, 59, and then a really fast last 250. And a guy passed me at the 250 mark after I'd led all the way, and I come off the bend and just flew past him and beat him by about 10 yards. Our good friend Jonesy was wanted to break 4 minutes that day. He was 100 yards behind me.
Well,
So
I think
I always have to remind him of that. It was in Wales. It was in his backyard as
Yeah,
well, Cardiff.
basically, yeah.
well, I think Ron and I and Benji, we can't really get a mind around that. We didn't have any that fast twitch that you seem to have. I don't think we do. Anyway, our results didn't show it. But how did you make the transition post collegiate? Then was it, on the roads? You got to go to the roads, or you stayed in the U.S. Can you tell us about that part of your life?
I was 26 when I got to PC. So when I was graduating, I was 30. I was looking at I was 32 when I was graduating. No, 26, 27. I was getting old anyway, 32, 31, 30. And I had to make a decision. Do I want to make some money from running? And I wasn't getting any money going to track meets in Europe, but I could win some money on the roads here. And, so I made a decision to stay here and run the roads. I'd go back and try and get into track meets. And it just didn't work. I'll give you, for instance, like one race can define you and, determine which way you're going to go. In 78, I was winning all the local road races in Liverpool and Lancashire, but I was getting no recognition, from the board, the 3As and the BAA or whatever they are. But the fire brigade, I'd won the cross country, an international cross country in Paris, and the fire department in Zeebrugge was putting on a big race, a big track meet, and they wanted they wanted the fireman to come, and because I'd won that cross country, the international cross country firefighters race, they invited me, and I'd never ran outside of the UK at this point, and really I didn't know who anybody was. I get there, and I'm supposed to run the 3,000 meters in Zeebrugge, and he said, "We've got you into the Van Dam to run the 5,000 meters." I said, "Oh yes, this is it. I'm ready to go." I get there, the 3,000 meters. I don't know I can't remember the name of the guy that won, but he beat me by about a large nose. And behind me was John Tracy, and John had just won the cross country, and behind him, out of the way back, was Charlie Spedden, about 210, 210, 810. I get to 2 days later, or the next day, we drive up to is it Brussels? I can't remember now. Zurich, Brussels. Where was the Van Dam?
In Brussels.
Brussels.
Yeah, Brussels.
I'm freaking brain. I tell you, my brain's gone. I get to Brussels, go into the hotel, find the race director, introduce myself. I wanted to, because it was all set.
Was it Sven Arnie? Was he the race director?
Yeah, I can't remember. I mean, like, I was a nobody. The fireman had got me in, and I just ran like 7:58. Beat John Tracy, beat Charlie Spedden. I almost won the race, and I get to the hotel, find the race director for the Van Dam, introduce myself, and he says, "Sorry, we've overbooked the field.
Huh.
You're not running." But John Tracy ran, Charlie Spedden ran, John ran a PR of 13:28. Charlie Spedden ran a PR of 13:34. I got $500 and went and spent it at Ostend. So, I mean, like, I know I would have been I would have been running sub 13:30 in that year, 78. My best was about 13:50 at that time. And another sob story. And then I still didn't get any international races till around about the end of 79 or the end of 79. I'd ran 20, what was it? What did I run? 28:02 in the Northern Championships solo. And that
And 28:02 didn't get the attention of meet directors
no,
because
no.
fast time back then.
I was even buying my own. I was still buying my own shit. I had never. I was still buying my own spikes, my own. I was getting nothing for free.
Bill, when did you start getting equipment? You said in the mid 70s. By 75, you were already getting equipment, weren't you?
Me getting equipment?
Well, I
Yeah.
know Pre gave you a pair of Nikes to wear when you won your first Boston.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, I got the shoes. But I think what you're saying, Geoff, and I understand it because I ran 3 races in Europe, but it was because I had won Boston and everything. So that's how I got the invite. But I remember there was one key official or organizer, Andy Norman.
And Andy Norman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So he would dole you out $200 in an envelope or something like that. It was the old days of amateurism. That's what I'm talking about, and how that needed a change. I think the athletes today get so much more recognition.
Well, some athletes, they're very good athletes, and they don't even get shoes anymore either. I mean, it's still touch and go. It's hard to know who's going to get attention, who isn't.
Yeah.
I don't think any of the 4 of us would get free shoes anymore with our time.
Come on,
maybe we'd be running.
We've all got to agree that we need to change the system here. We need to look at what the cyclists have done and put restrictions on the bikes. We need to put some sort of restriction on the shoes. I mean, like, you can't have a spring in the friggin' shoe.
Well, in theory, they've got restrictions, but nobody seems to be enforcing them.
No, I mean, like, you got to say you can't run with these.
Yeah, I know what you're saying,
shoes.
and yeah, but that cat's out of the bag, and we're not going to be able to put it back.
But the question is, guys, I mean, we're 40 years, 30 some years out of our prime. What will the sport look like?
We're 40 years out of our prime.
40 years from now. Will they be looking at the times that they're running today as slow?
Well, will they even be a sport 40 years from now?
Well, that's another topic in itself. But yeah, I mean, you look at the evolution of our sport; it evolves with every new generation.
That evolving right now
Technology
is an outlier.
Is going to change,
and it's
science.
It's not possible. I mean, like, let's be honest, guys. When we ran, the harder it's all about recovery, right?
Right.
To improve, you've got to recover.
Sure.
You've got to train hard, and you've got to recover. The amount of recovery that's needed for some of these times it doesn't fit in. In my mind, it doesn't work.
Well, part of it, though,
you can't recover to run the friggin' times that they're doing.
I've run the new shoes, the carbon shoes, and I'm running really slow, but I'm doing, I'm going out and doing. Like yesterday, I did 14 miles, quarter of a mile of it was walking, the rest of it was running, and I had on the carbon shoes, and my legs are not trashed at all today. And in the old days, my legs would be empty, but I'm not today. So
yeah,
that's a big advantage that they have, and some of them are also doing it with drugs, which I guess there were some of it in our days they were doing that too. But
yeah,
I think but the bottom line is it's easier to train hard day after day now with the shoes, than it used to be.
Yeah. I still find it very, very hard to fathom out,
Well,
Don't-
we saw that Todd Williams had his American record broken yesterday at Jacksonville, the Jacksonville River Run.
Yep.
And it was only a few seconds that they broke it. And so to my mind, Todd Williams's time is still a superior time because he was running in old shoes with no bounce to them.
Yeah.
It's an interesting topic. I think overall, though, I think our sport will go on because let's face it, it's still backbone of the Olympic Games, and it's also tied in with the health and fitness.
Well, I agree with you,
millions of people.
but I'm not so sure the human race is going to last that much longer. That's the part of what I'm.
So, what do you think that? And I proposed this a second ago, but do you think maybe 30 or 40 years from now there will be a super vitamin that isn't considered a performance enhancing drug that might
let's
help
look
us?
at the bicarb, the Martin soda bicarb. The essentially is why the 800 is so damn fast now. It's accepted. Yeah. I mean, it's considered a legitimate aid. And I don't know that it helped Grant Fisher, but he used it for his 3,000 and 5,000 indoor records. And, it may only be a placebo effect at that distance because it's supposedly only good somewhere between, 600 meters and 1,500 meters. Those are the ranges that it's supposed to be helpful. But so that what you're saying, they've already got one thing like that. They may come up with another thing that is considered to be not biologically dangerous. Therefore, they'll let you do it. And, something that can boost your blood without being at risk. I mean, EPO is dangerous, but I suppose if there was a way to take something that wasn't dangerous like EPO, I don't know, maybe they'd let you do it. I don't know.
That's what I'm asking, in 30 or 40 years, 20 years, is science going to change the dynamics of the sport altogether? I mean, because right now there has to be some limit as to how fast the human body can actually move.
Well, there are limits physically. I mean,
how fast can you run 100 meters?
Etc. But I saw that there's genetic stuff beginning to happen where you can do, things that change your genetics. Basically build your mitochondria, which is a scary thing. And maybe we have nanobots somehow that improve things, but all of that's just speculation, and it's just going to drive us nuts to worry about it.
So I guess we got off topic just a little bit, but
we did.
Sorry about that, guys. So Geoff, a question. You ran your first marathon in '83 at New York, and it was ultimately your fastest marathon during your career. Why did you decide to pick New York as your first marathon?
I did actually. New York was the first one I ran, but the very first race I was considering was in '82. I trained to run Boston in '82, and I'd done all. I'd experimented in '81 with the carbo loading, and it didn't work out. So I said, well, I'm not playing with the carbo loading. I'm just going to continue with my marathon training. And I think in '81 I'd ran. In '82 I ran Bermuda. I think I ran 28:14.
Well, yeah, you ran. Here it looks you ran 28:14, and no one has been even 54 seconds closer to that time since you ran that. I don't know if it's still a race that they do down there, but that was a 28.
I mean, it's not the same race it was, in the '70s and up to about '87. Back then all the shoe companies would take their own, take their teams.
Right. Yeah. Adidas brought
And
us over there.
every race was loaded. I mean, if you look at the results of that race, there was some big hitters in that race. Julian Gota was there from England. I think Bruce was there, Bruce Bickford. I mean, there was a lot of good guys in the field. But
Geoff,
I ran that time, and then I also ran a 13:22 at Melrose
And
for
Dolores, so you
5,000.
ran 13. Yeah, so, but there's a big difference. I mean, you guys, we've all seen guys who were good on the track for 5 and 10,000 meters, and then they moved up to the marathon. It's a whole different ball game. Did you
Yeah,
run
but
any?
I was training for the marathon. You know, I was really concentrating. I was talking to my coach in England, and I was doing long runs. I mean, I was doing 20 mile. I was doing 10 mile loops in like 48, 49 training.
Yeah,
I mean, I was hammering it, and
flying. Yeah,
I was still doing my speed work. I was making sure that I could still run fast. And unfortunately, about 2 or 3 weeks before Boston, I got a really bad strep throat,
That was
and
me
I ended up.
too. In '82, just before Boston, I got the flu. I was supposed to be there as well, and I ended up not being able to run because I just like you, I'd gotten sick like 2 weeks before.
Yeah, I mean, I ended up in the hospital for 2 days.
I didn't get that sick.
wow, wow.
So I come back, and as I say, I was running the 10 mile loop in like 49 minutes, 48 minutes some days. I went out to run the 10 mile loop, for a jog. I come back, I ran 55 minutes, and I was exhausted. I said, what, Boston's not happening now. So I didn't, and it was I I was just going to phone up, the week before or 2 weeks before, and say, I mean, can I get a number to run? Because you could do that back then.
Yeah.
well, what's
What?
interesting, Geoff, in '82, of course, was the Duel in the Sun. So it
Yeah,
was a good thing to skip that one. I was in that one. It wasn't a good day to run Boston. And we've all run Boston. We all know what it's like. It's really about the weather at Boston.
yeah,
The hills, yes, but it's the weather. So it was a good one to skip. And I saw you when you ran in '84 and '85 at Boston, and you had bad weather both years. Once
yeah,
extremely cold, downpour. The next year, you know,
extremely hot.
this is New England. You get
Yeah,
hit with heat and humidity, and I think you got no respect because people don't look carefully at marathoning. You know,
yeah.
they don't look at the elements. You're out there for 2 hours pushing as hard as you can over this crazy course, Do you think that's true to a degree?
Oh, yeah, you only have to listen to the Boston Marathon movie there.
Or the 100
Uh,
year history?
Frank slagged me for my time in '85.
He never ran Boston. Well, he
No,
ran
but
it in 78,
he flagged me
but
when he was doing some of the talking on the Boston Marathon movie, and he flagged me.
I think you had to be there
He
on the
said
day.
it was a poor race.
This is
Oh,
terrible.
yeah, but you won.
Oh, yeah, but it wasn't a poor. I mean, I went through in 62. I went through the half in 62 minutes.
Was that the hot year or the cold one? That was the hot
That was
year.
the hot year.
Yes. And you made it over Heartbreak, and then coming off a Heartbreak, your legs cramped. You got
No,
dehydrated.
no, I didn't. I didn't get up Heartbreak. I got cramp at the bottom of Heartbreak,
The bottom. Yeah.
and
That's
I ended up walking up the hill.